Hello. Me and my friends at the DAC I'll welcome you here to be the friends worker at the DAC. Count number 1 and number 2 and number 3.
Hello, Headstart.
Can you tell him hello?
Hello.
Good.
My name is Bryce, and I'm ready to fix it. Who can fix it? Can an ox fix it? Can a fox fix it? Can a dog fix it? Can a pig fix it? Who can fix it? I can fix it.
Hi, my name is Lisa, and I'm gonna read is Clifford. So here we go. Clifford in the school. All right. Okay. In the spring, Emily Elizabeth said, "Charlie, let's plant a garden. We can grow sunflowers." "That's a great idea," Charlie said. "Let's plant carrots and watermelons and cantaloupes too." First, they took a gardening lesson from Mrs. Diller. Then they loaded up Emily Elizabeth's wagon with shovels, wooden and stakes, and packets of seeds. Before long, the garden was planted. "Soon we'll have lots of great plants and Emily Elizabeth," said Elizabeth. Okay. Emily Elizabeth and Charlie went often to check on their garden each time. They brought a gallon of water for plants. Soon, little seedlings came up, but only a few. "We planted more seeds than this," said Emily Elizabeth. "I wonder why they aren't growing." The children tried again. They dropped more seeds in the ground. They weeded and watered. Still the plants did not grow. "I didn't think this is right," Charlie said. Then one day, Emily Elizabeth saw the reason. A squirrel was eating all those seeds. "I beg your pardon," Emily Elizabeth said. "It's not polite to eat seeds from my garden." But the squirrel just looked at her and kept right on eating. Charlie had an idea. "We can make a scarecrow," he said. "Don't you mean a squirrel?" "Squirrel," Emily Elizabeth said with a laugh. But it didn't work. The squirrel wasn't scared at all. Clifford knew Emily Elizabeth was upset. He wanted to help. He knew what to do. He talked to that squirrel. "Listen," Clifford began. "I will help you reach nuts and all those trees if you leave Emily Elizabeth Collins alone." The squirrel said, "It's a deal." "Thank you, Clifford," Emily Elizabeth said. "And have a good day, you kids."
Hi, my name is Eric Mayfield. I am going to read You Can Do It, Sam by Amy Hest. Illustrated by Anita Jerem. It happened one winter morning on Plum Street, and the moon was still up, making moonbeams and shadows on Plum Street. In the little White House, Mrs. Bear and Sam were baking cakes. They stirred with big spoons, swirling and tasting batter. They picked in the oven at 2 rows of cakes. Golden brown cakes for their friends on Plum Street. Come on, cakes, whispered Sam. I can't wait, I can't wait, I can't wait. Mrs. Bear and Sam waited for cakes. Now can we go, Mama? Now, said Sam. Soon, Mrs. Bear said. Soon, Sam. They waited and waited. And then at last, Mrs. Bear sniffed the air with her nose in the air and said, I believe our cakes are ready. Mrs. Bear and Sam counted cakes, and there were 12. They tucked them in bags, and there were 12 red bags. Outside, snow tumbled on houses and sprinkled the trees. It powdered the yard and Mrs. Bear's truck. Mrs. Bear and Sam climbed up in the truck that was green. They bumped along in the early light, just the 2 of them on Plum Street, uphill and down, up and down to the very end of Plum Street. Our friends will love my cakes, Sam told his mama. Of course, Mrs. Bear said. Mrs. Bear pulled up close to the first sleepy house. Here we are, Sam. I'll wait here and you take the cake. All by myself, whispered Sam. Go, go, go! Mrs. Bear put her arm around Sam. You can do it, Sam. And off he went, all by himself in new snow, all by himself, waving a red bag and waving to Mrs. Bear, all by himself, taking cake to their friends. Sam left the red bag at the door. The sign on the red bag said, "A tasty surprise." Then he ran back to the truck where his mama was waiting. "I did it," said Sam. "Of course," Mrs. Bear said. Mrs. Bear and Sam bumped along, just the 2 of them, uphill and down, up and down. At each sleepy house, Mrs. Bear stopped the truck. She put her arm around Sam. "Here I go," whispered Sam. "Go, go, go," Mrs. Bear said, and off he went, making tracks in new snow, waving a red bag and waving to Mrs. Bear, leaving one tasty cake at each sleepy door, all by himself. Until they got home. there were 2 cakes left in 2 red bags. Said Mrs. Bear. For us? Whispered Sam. Of course, Mrs. Bear said. Mrs. Bear and Sam held hands on the path to the little white house. And the sun was just sunning up the little white house. Hello, house, said Sam, and they went inside, kicking snow off their boots. Mrs. Bear poured cocoa in cups, and they wriggled their toes in fat socks, enjoying their cakes with cocoa. As their bellies filled up, they took turns telling stories. Stories about a bear called Sam who takes cakes all by himself to his friends. And they all love his cakes so much. And that's what happened one winter morning on Plum Street. And
Hi, I'm Leslie Malone, and I'm going to read the story called A House is a House for Me. A hill is a house for an ant and ant. A hive is a house for a bee. A hole is a house for a hole or a mouse. And a house is a house for me. A web is a house for a spider. A bird builds its nest in a tree. There is nothing so snug as a bug in a rug, and a house is a house for me. A coop, that's a house for a chicken. A stay, that's a house for a sow. A fold, that's where sheep all gather to sleep. A barn, that's a house for a cow. It is also, of course, a house for a horse. A kennel's a house for a dog. A dog is a house. Dog is a house for a flea. But when a dog strays, a flea sometimes says, and then it may move in on me. Houses for rabbits are hutches. A house for a mule is a shed. A castle is a house for a duchess. A bedbug beds down in a bed. Mosquitoes like mud holes or puddles. Whales need an ocean or sea. A fish or snake may make do with a lake, but a house is a house for me. A shell is a dwelling for a shellfish, for oysters and clams. Each snail has a shell and each turtle as well, but not any lions or lambs. Lions live out in the open. Monkeys live up in a tree. Hippos live down in the water. And now what do you know about me? An igloo's a house for an Eskimo, a teepee's house for a Cree, a pueblo's a house for a Hopi, and a wigman may hold a mohi. A garage is a house for a car or a truck. A hangar's a house for a plane. A dock or a ship is a house for a ship. And a terminal's house for a train. A husk is a house for a corn ear. A pod is a place for a pea. A nutshell's a hut for a hickory nut. But what is a shelter for me? A glove is a house for a hand and hand. A stocking's a house for a knee. A shoe or a boot is a house for a foot, and a house is a house for me. A box is a house for a tea bag. A teapot's a house for some tea. If you pour me a cup and I drink it all up, then a tea house will turn into me. Cartons are houses for crackers. Castles are houses for kings. The more that I think about houses, but more things are houses for things. And if you get started in thinking, I think you will find it is true that the more that you think about houses for things, the more things are houses to you. Barrels are houses for pickles, and bottles are houses for jam. A pot is a spot for potatoes. A sandwich is home for some ham. The cookie jar is home to the cookies. The bread box is home to the bread. My coat is a house for my body. My head is a house for my bed. Perhaps I have started far-fetching. Perhaps I am stretching things some. A mirror is a house for reflections. A throat is a house for a hum. But once you get started in thinking, you think and you think and you think. How pockets are houses for pennies, and pens can be houses for ink. How peaches are houses for peach pits, and sometimes are houses for worms. How trashes are houses for garbage, and garbage make houses for germs. And envelopes, earmuffs, and eggshells, and bathrobes, and baskets, and bins, and rag bags, and rubbers, and roasters, and tablecloths, toasters, and tins. And once you get started in thinking this way, it's sometimes that whatever you see, it's either house or it lives in a house, and a house is a house for me. A book is a house for a story. A rose is a house for a smell. My head is a house for a secret I will never tell. A flower's at home in a garden. A donkey's at home in a stall. Each creature that's known as a house for its own. And the earth is a house for all of us. And the earth is a house for us all.
Hi, I'm Sean Fazio, and I'm going to be reading Alexandra and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day. I went to sleep with gum in my mouth, and now there's gum in my hair. And when I got out of bed this morning, I tripped on the skateboard, and by mistake, I dropped my sweater in the sink while the water was running. And I could tell it was going to be a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. At breakfast, Anthony found a Culver Stream Ray car kit in his breakfast cereal, and Nick found a junior undercover agent code ring in his breakfast cereal, but in my breakfast cereal, all I found was breakfast cereal. I think I'll move to Australia. In the carpool, Mrs. Gibbons let Becky have a seat by the window. Audrey and Elliot got seats by the window too. I said I was being smashed. I said if I don't get a seat by the window, I'm going to be car sick. No one even answered. I could tell it was going to be a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. At school, Mrs. Dickerson liked Paul's picture of sailboats better than my picture of Isabel's castle. At singing time, she said I sung too loud at continued counting time. She said I left out 16. Who needs 16? I could tell it was going to be a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. I could tell because Paul said I wasn't his best friend anymore. He said that Philip Parker was his best friend and that Albert Model was his next best friend and that I was always his third best friend. Hope you sit on tax, I said to Paul. I hope the next time you get a double-decker strawberry ice cream cone, the ice cream parts falls off the cone and lands in Australia. There were 2 cupcakes in Philip Parker's lunch bag, and Albert got a Hershey bar with almonds, and Paul's mother gave him a piece of jelly roll that had little coconut sprinkles on top. Guess whose mother forgot to put in the dessert? It was a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. That's what it was because after school my mom took all of us to the dentist and Dr. Phil's found the cavity. Justin, me, come back next week and I'll fix it, Dr. Phil. Next week I said I'm going to Australia. On the way downstairs, the elevator closed on my foot while we were waiting for Mom to get the car. Anthony made me fall where it was muddy. And then when I started crying because of the mud, Nick said I was a crybaby. While I was punching Nick for saying crybaby, my mom came back with the car and scolded me for being muddy and fighting. I'm having a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. I told everyone, no one even answered. So then we went to the shoe store to buy some sneakers. Anthony chose white ones with blue stripes. Nick chose red ones with bright stripes. I chose blue ones with red stripes, but then the shoeman said we're all sold out. They made me buy plain old white ones, but they can't make me wear them. When we went to pick up my dad at his office, he said I couldn't play with his copy machine, but I forgot. He also said to watch out for the books on his desk. I was careful as could be expected from my elbow. He also said don't fool around with his phone. But I think I called Australia. My dad said please don't pick him up anymore. It was a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. There were lima beans for dinner, and I hate lima beans. There was kissing on TV, and I hate kissing. My bath was too hot. I got soap in my eyes. My marbles went down the drain. I had to wear my railroad train pajamas. I hate my railroad train pajamas. When I went to bed, Nicky took back the pillow he said I could keep, and the Mickey Mouse nightlight burned out and bit my tongue. The cat went to sleep with Anthony, not with me. It had been a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. My mom said some days are like that, even in Australia.
Hi, I'm Mel Simon.
What book are you reading, Mel?
Oh, Teddy bear, teddy bear, teddy bear, teddy bear. Whatever you call it. Ready? Teddy bear, touch the ground. Teddy bear, turn around. Teddy bear, show your shoe. Teddy bear, that will do. Teddy bear, run upstairs. Teddy bear, say your prayer. Teddy bear, blow out the light. Teddy bear, say good night.
My name Kim Puck Wool. Mine, I love you.
Bye, Headstart. See you next time.